It's very hard for me to explain to you what is going on in the general media, the big hot button news stories, because let's face it, I am very intellectually superior to you, the listener. Of course, I got the microphone, and it's so challenging, like trying to take what's in my brain. It's like, this big complex high level thinking machine and try to present it to you, the inferior listener, of what's actually happening. And I did come up with an analogy, but again, it's so highbrow and so above your level that I don't have much hope for you that you're going to be able to understand what I'm trying to convey here. But I'll give it a shot. Who knows? Remember Charlie Sheen? Like, you try having my brain for 5 seconds. Like, whoa, you unplug this bastard. I've been watching a lot of Sheen lately. He cracks me up. But anyways, here we go. So if you've ever been in an intimate relationship before, you know that at some point, somebody farts in front of the other person. And at first, and let's be honest, if it's a heterosexual relationship, it's usually the guy. Side note, don't want to go down the rabbit hole. Very curious how it works in a gay relationship. Two guys. I know guys pretty well. It's probably just like first come, first serve basis. Women probably hold out a little bit longer. But there is that time where somebody farts. Probably in a heterosexual relationship, it's going to be the man. And the first one, it's actually kind of cute. It's like, oh, you feel comfortable enough in front of me to fart. Well, then months go by, the farting ramps up, and you get into this battle. One party farts, and the other party starts to get mad at the other party for farting. And, you could do the thing like, well, it's funny. Because let's be honest, farts are always funny. Until you're in an intimate relationship and, the odor makes an introduction and it's unpleasant. But here's what happens. We'll say the man farts, woman reacts, hey, what the hell? I'm standing right behind you. Or what the hell? We're trapped in this little room together. What are you doing? So the woman gets mad at the man for farting. Again, highbrow stuff. Don't expect you to be able to wrap your head around this one. Well, let's shatter the myth right now that women don't fart and poop. They do. So man farts, women gets mad at man for farting. Okay, well, let's see what happens when the roles are reversed, shall we? Woman farts. Man gets mad at woman for farting. Woman gets mad at man for getting mad at the farting. I give you America. Jimmy Kimmel is fired or canceled or temporarily, indefinitely suspended. And the people who don't like him, I'm not even going to do you the justice of calling them by name. The people that don't like Jimmy Fallon are like, yeah, take that. You suck. How dare you say things that I don't agree with? But then the people who like Jimmy Fallon say, you are censoring our guy. We like him. How dare you censor him for saying things you don't like? Well, then the right's like, well, you censored a bunch of guys we don't like. How does it feel? And then thus begins the one side farts, the other side doesn't like it, but what the other side doesn't realize is that they fart too. And how could you not expect the people that don't like you to not get mad at your farts. My wife and I love each other to the ends of the moon, and we don't like each other's farts. So, you see the issue at hand, where you got people who don't like each other farting all up on each other's business, and it just becomes the blame game. You farted. Yeah, well, when you farted, I got mad, but then you got mad at me for getting mad. And it's just like, what the fuck? I thought that level of thinking vanished when we were 7. You know? So that's all I really have to say about that. But I will say, a lot of arguing going on, right? Who's right? Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? What really happened? And to be fair, when I saw the news headline, Jimmy Kimmel fired, I did the best job I could possibly do to get to the answer. Not what Apple fucking News was telling me, and not what Fox was telling me, not what Matt Walsh was saying, not what, Gavin Newsom was saying, not what Donald Trump was saying, not what Candace Owens was saying. Very funny, by the way. I tried to and there is no, and if I'm wrong, tell me, there is no, don't like both sides, I'll just give it to you straight. That doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I go, hey, ChatGPT, tell me what actually happened. This side saying that side saying this. Tell me what actually happened. And it's like, well, Chris, you're absolutely right. The Republicans, there I go saying the word again. The conservative movement is saying that his ratings were bad and he is spewing hate speech and lies. And then the other one, and then it's like, but the liberal movement is saying that he is being censored by the FCC. It's like, but what? I don't know. I guess you're supposed to take that and formulate your own opinion, but it's like, the facts are so hard to find. Facts don't care about your feelings. But with all the arguing happening, what I decided a long time ago is I'm a notebook guy. By saying what I just said and calling both sides fucking farters to their face because I'm a fearless father, by doing that, you both of them hate me all you want. I'll just keep sucking in my own smells, like that South Park episode. Maybe I'll get a hybrid vehicle too. But if you want to win any argument, truly, it's hard with just the big ones. But if you face to face with an MFer, I got the move to win any argument. Here it is. You look at that person, whatever you're talking about, and you say this. Oh, well, have you read insert name of book here? Because they haven't read it and they won't read it. And by saying that you read it or pretending like you read it, you win the argument. Simple as that. Oh, you don't. Oh, so you don't trust. Have you read The Real Anthony Fauci? You didn't read it? Oh man, go read it and then come back. We'll talk about it. Or wait, you haven't read Horton Hears a Who? Oh, that makes sense, because before I read it, I thought that way too. Like, to be fair, I thought that way too. Then I read Horton Hears a Who, And I even read the Goosebumps book, Horror at Camp Jelly Camp. Jelly Bean, and it's totally just red pill, man. It totally opened my eyes to the real issues of the founding fascism and Democratic Republic of China, man. And it's never gonna stop unless we read these books and we do something. And I think we start by educating ourselves. So go read that book. Yeah, this weekend. It's at the Canton Public Library. That's right. I checked it out. And you read it, and we'll talk about it Monday. They're not going to read the book, and you just put yourself in a position of power. And that's what it's all about. It's about power. No, who cares? What I did find interesting about the Charlie Kirk thing. I talked about Charlie Kirk last week. I'm going to talk about it again. The Dems blame the Repubs. The Repubs blame the Dems. Candace Owens blames the Jews. So there's that. That's not accurate. She was saying that there's like real inconsistencies with the thing, and she's like, well, Benjamin Netanyahu claimed to be Charlie's friend, and he's no friend, and he tweeted within hours. Can you believe that? He tweeted within hours? It's like, yeah, I can believe that, but I don't do research, so I just hear that shit, I'm like, oh, you're using all of your give a fuck tokens on things that don't really matter to my life. I use my give a fuck tokens elsewhere, though. And that's an interesting concept. The give a fuck token. I think a lot of us are looking at this, or maybe you're not looking at it at all. And you're using 0 give a fuck tokens on everything that happens in the world. That rules. And I don't know why I give 3 to 5 give a fuck tokens per week on listening to Candace Owens or, listening to Bill Maher. I try to diversify my shits. I try to listen to what the Jimmy Kimmels of the world are saying, and I try to listen to what the Russell Brands be saying. I try to listen to the Matthew McConaughey's, and I try to listen to the Joe Rogans. I try to listen to the Jordan Petersons. I did give a shot to like Matt Walsh and Ben Shapiro. It's just like, this means war. I'm gonna pick up that bloody microphone right from what happened to Charlie Kirk, and I'm gonna be the movement. And then you get people who are like, this guy's a joker, don't let him near the microphone. I want to give more representation to the left, because there are some I dig Mark Maron. He's done with his podcast, but I was interested in what he was saying. I try to get it all. And the more that I like grab hold of, the more it's like water that just slips through my hands. I'm like, oh my God. Everybody. Oh, Dave Smith. Dave Smith, Dr. Libertarian. He's cool. I like Dave Smith. But the give a fuck tokens. So if you are using 0 of your give a fuck tokens on anything news-wise, hats off to you. I aspire to 0. But like right now, I'm usually at like, okay, I'm going to be honest, I'm usually at like a 5 to 7, but given the past few weeks, it's like an 8 to 10. I'm up to 10. I'm up to 10 tokens. And in the vortex, the more it seems like you spend on social media and absorbing the news, the higher, because it just takes your tokens, like it quadruples them before you even notice. So I give some give a fuck tokens to that. But give a fuck tokens, isn't that? So it's a thing. And I think my just kind of being the notebook guy, looking at what's around, it seems like life has gotten so good and free of true adversity that many, many, many people are giving so many of their tokens to that because there's nothing else to struggle for. I got an idea. This could kill two birds, one stone. My idea is that every person that belongs to this country, there's a new sheriff in town, there's a new rule that says you're going to get drafted to 1 month out of the year of living in the woods, pal, and you survive or you don't. No phone. Maybe you get like a backpack like that Naked and Afraid show. You get that, you're clothed. Let's not be barbaric. You're clothed, but there are, thousands of different wildernesses you can choose from. And you go and you got to just survive in there for a month. A, it's going to thin the herd a little bit. B, it'll kind of reset you to learn like, oh, yeah, this is what life used to be like. We've got it pretty darn good. When I go back, I'm going to devote my time and energy to things that matter. Maybe I'll help some people. Maybe I will make more lovings to my spouse. Maybe I will sit down and practice my kid's homework more with him. But I do think we got it too good. In fact, we have it so good that we got to pull it back. And there is now a petition, a bill, a movement. I don't know what it is. Legislation. How many words can we have for the same goddamn thing? A bill, a legislator, pact, to ban pornography in the state of Michigan. And I have thoughts on that. There's the first thought that's like, porn's pretty bad for you. I'll bet there are far more relationships and marriages that end because of a closeted porn thing going on. You stop connecting. Sex and love addiction. Hello, have you heard of it? And it's like that. Maybe we could just go old school for a little bit. Maybe you pop on that an old Christina Aguilera music video. Britney Spears, if that's your take. Talking with one friend in particular right now who doesn't listen to this podcast, so I'm talking to 0 people. A Trish Stratus Titantron video, or go old school, print it off your printer. Like one line at a time. Pass them out to your friends, sell them, $3 a piece. I didn't hate that. Maybe we reset America that way. Make America porn-free again. MAFPA. That's hard on the tongue. And if you look into it, to be fair, I'll get to the other argument in a minute where I just contradict myself all day. I've noticed, I was watching this video recently. I don't want to get too off topic. I was watching a video recently where a fella, I don't even remember who it was, but he was, it was about the Kimmel thing or about the Charlie Kirk thing or about whatever. And I noticed as he got into it, I felt like he was about to go one way. And then you kind of get that, it does pull out some emotion from me, that like animalistic, like, yeah, let's get them. Yeah, they're the enemy. I think we all have that, which is part of our biology. But then he flipped and he went the other way. And I was getting ready to be like, yeah, let's get him. And then he ended up going kind of down the middle where he wasn't super tied to one side. And I'm like, oh man, that feeling you were about to trudge out of me is gone. And I'm like, oh shit, that's what I do. I don't evoke the, yeah, let's get him, or yeah, let's get him on either side. I just say, use your give a fuck tokens wisely, and let's talk about porn for a second, shall we? There's a lot of things I've learned about places like Pornhub that, like, a lot of women on there did the video either against their will or without their knowledge, and it kind of destroyed their lives. And then they contacted the company and they wouldn't pull it. That's fucked up. Pull it. You're ruining lives. Like, it's one thing if that's like your career and you get paid and you're like, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's me with 6 other people. That's me. Did you like it? Did you like it? It's like, all right, well, if you're doing a thing people like and they like it and you're getting paid, like, and you're cool with it, that's one thing. But if you didn't sign up for it, we've all had relations. If there was a hidden camera and you, like, either trusted this person or, even worse, you were forced or it wasn't, and they're asking you to pull it, and you're like, no, can't do that. Are you kidding? What level of evil is that? That's beyond my comprehension. And if that's not beyond your comprehension, go talk to somebody. That should be beyond your comprehension of evil. It's beyond mine. It should be beyond yours. It has probably happened to men too. Hey, I didn't sign up for this. I just got a giant hog and I got taken advantage of. I got dosed. It was against my will. Take it down. Take it down for the boys too. But I got a feeling it's probably far more women who did it not knowing that they were being filmed or not agreeing to it or not remembering it. God, take it down, CEO of Pornhub. And there's a very in-depth podcast that there was a woman who was like leading this charge against this. She did Theo's pod, but I can't remember her name. I'm sure if you wanted to hear more about it or join the movement or something, you probably quick search on YouTube or ChatGPT it. Who is the woman who is leading the charge to rattle some cages in the porn industry? Shit's dark, yo. That shit's dark, yo. Oh, but man, ruining lives. I could not imagine. Like, if you did it, like, if you, like, had consensual sex with somebody and then they got shown and you're like a young girl, guy developing and people are using it, sending it to you, and there's nothing you can do. That is a certain level of awful that I don't want to know how that feels. But somebody should do something about that. But so it kind of goes back to what I was saying about if you're volunteering to do that as your career and put it out there, and there are people who are getting fulfillment out of it, free cunch. We live in a free cunch still, I think. Country. I don't like that abbreviation. In fact, I think Delia did that one time, and I don't want to steal anybody's shit. Speaking of stealing someone's joke, this bummed me out. Anytime I do a comedian's joke, I will say Joe List said this, or I will say Attell said this. I don't like taking credit, but I was at a meeting and me and a buddy of mine, we were big into comedy. We're talking comedy. He had a friend, and Mark Norman came up, and I was just like, man, Norman, his special Out to Lunch and then Soup to Nuts, huge fan. Listen to him every week on his podcasts, and big fan. And we were trying to think of Norman bits. And I thought of the one that was super inappropriate for the setting, But I'm like, and I mention that, I'm like, it might not be the best. And I look around, I'm like, all right, well, you can't do that. Huge social faux pas. Say, I could think of a great joke, but I can't tell it to you. That's cruel. So I'm like, all right, here we go. Here's Norman's joke. And I said the joke, and I go, it's about pedophiles. So what he says is, he's talking about how lucky he is to not have become a pedophile. In the example he uses, he goes, yeah, when I was 15 years old, I liked having sex with 15-year-olds. Now that I'm 30, I like having sex with 30-year-olds. When I was 15 years old, I like grapefruit juice. Now I'm 30, I like red wine, but I still like grapefruit juice. And that's the joke. Very funny. But when I said, now that I'm 30, I like wine, the guy I was telling the joke to laughed at that part and missed the, but I still like grapefruit juice. He stepped on the joke that I stole from a real comedian. And it bummed me out. And I don't like him anymore. I don't like him anymore. I'm just kidding. He's fine. I got over it very quickly. Very, very quickly. But I want to talk about an experience that I had this past weekend. You ever do that? You burp and there's like a little extra vocalizing under it? Mm-hmm. So Julian, my son, coming up on 7 years old. That's the first time I said that. Up until now, it's been, he's 6.5. He's 6.5. He's 6.5. Well, his birthday's in January. It's going to be October soon. So now I say, he's coming up on 7. And he got invited to his very first friend birthday party, girl in his class. And there are just the best feelings in the world that I've talked about a few times in this podcast. There is when a pro wrestler returns from a prolonged absence and they get that return pop. The wrestling return pop's huge. There is intimacy and vulnerability with a spouse. There is, when I go to my 12-step meetings, there are often times where I see a newcomer come in, and it's like first week, and they're sharing stories like, my kids won't talk to me, or my parents won't talk to me. I have no friends. They've all bailed on me. And it's just the saddest thing. But people come back, they do the work, and months later, sometimes years, but months later, they come back and they say things like, you know what? My brother-in-law invited me to Thanksgiving dinner this year, and I haven't been invited to that in 15 years. Or, my favorite one, this gentleman was of the case where his kids weren't talking to him no more. And his ex-spouse, not talking to him anymore. And he was sharing at a meeting about what happened to him the day before. And that was, he was on the phone with his daughter. Miracle. Would not have happened just 2 years prior. Because this motherfucker came in, he did the work, and now his life is back. He's got his fucking life back. And he was saying he was on the phone with his daughter. Miracle number one. Beep, beep, gets the call waiting, looks at his phone. Who's calling him? His other daughter. And there's a thing in the world that's called the law of diminishing returns. It can apply to anything. It can apply to food. You go to the very best restaurant, order the very best item. It's going to taste awesome. But if you go back every single day, it's going to lose its music, comedy. You can only hear a joke. You can't hear a joke 1,000 times. It loses its Those stories of people who come in with nothing, just totally at the bottom, and watching them regain their lives and put together a life that they didn't think was possible. There is no law of diminishing returns with those kind of stories that I get the opportunity to hear every fucking week, like multiple times a week. And so that's number 3. And these aren't in order, but this might be number 1. Watching your child succeed, particularly in our case when 6 months ago, I didn't know if the kid was ever going to 6 months ago, I didn't know that the kid was ever going to make a fucking friend. It was that hard. And he got invited to this sweet little girl's birthday. And here I am, selfishly not wanting to go because it wasn't what I wanted to do. Happy for him, willing to take him. But there's that fucking selfish part of me that if I don't do what I want to do and my day isn't arranged exactly how I want it, I don't like it. But willing to go. So we went, and en route, I was thinking we were driving to the people's house, not realizing that it was at a roller skating rink, which helped because I'm like, I don't want to stand out. It was very hot. I don't want to stand out and sweat in the sun and have him like, not understanding boundaries yet and maybe getting on people's nerves or whatever. Like I just had all this fear, and maybe it's a little bit of PTSD from the past, but it's just there. I'm like, it's gonna suck. Okay, but let's do it. Birthday party, let's do it. So we go, and it was like, it's at a roller skating rink. That's pretty cool. And I'll admit, I was very judgy. It was like, if you know Michigan, it was like in the sticks. It was just a few miles north of Monroe, so like in the middle of nowhere, like farms, country field. I'm just like, it's good, And I judged. And I pulled up to the skating rink, and it wasn't this pristine, maintained building. It was a little rougher on the edges. And again, I judged. And then we go in there, and we strap on the skates, and it was his first time ever roller skating, and he fell down and got right back up. And he fell down again, and he got right back up, and he fell down, he got up, and then eventually I challenged him. I go, do you think you can make it around the whole rink without falling? And he thinks about it. He goes, yeah. And he went, and he did it. He tumbled right at the end, but he made it all the way around. And then there was a moment, it was just me and Emily sitting. We were waiting for his mom, Danielle, to get there. And it was from 5, not that this matters, sorry, boring you to death with this. It was from 5 to 7. Normal drop-off time is 6 because we got to get home. I go to bed really early. So she came and met us. So he got to experience the first half with us, second half with mom, and then we overlapped for a good 15 minutes. So he got everyone there. And there was a stretch of time where he was right in the middle. He was like right in the mix and having so much fun with his classmates. And oh man, and that I feel it now just looking at him and being so proud, And it's like maybe some parents, you knew right out of the gate your kid was going to make a bunch of friends, or you knew right out of the gate your kid was going to be freaking awesome at sports, or like you knew right out of the gate that this, that, and the other. Well, wherever your like metric is, or wherever your like standard is or bar, like seeing them like exceed that. We all have different bars, I feel, for ourselves and watching our kids. Like, and when they push beyond that, it's just so cool. Like, my capacity for love has grown exponentially, and watching. And then they did this little like limbo setup where the kids took turns like skating around and going lower and lower and lower. And like when they were first setting it up, like he accidentally bumped into one of like the poles and the thing came down. And I'm like, oh, that's Julian for you. But man, yeah, having that opportunity. And then we drove home and I was just like, that was the best thing that's happened to me in like a long time. Like, and the whole day I go up, I'm like, oh, I'm not getting my way, So it's like, who am I to say like what's good or what's bad or what's gonna be good or what's gonna be bad? It's very likely you've heard. Well, I like the idea that you know what the definition of insanity, don't you? You know what the definition of insanity is? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's like, first of all, I think the new definition of insanity should be telling somebody the definition of insanity as if it's new information. And B, is that the definition? Einstein said that was the definition? How about a symptom of? How about an example of? You're using that as your definition? Well, then I don't want your Webster's dictionary, you piece of shit. That was really funny to me. I don't know why. But the definition of insanity, I was like right in the middle of making a point about something. Oh, yeah. So in that same realm, the definition of insanity, blah, blah, blah. I just use it as an example of something you've probably heard, but really rings true right now, or at least with the story that I just told about going to this birthday party I didn't want to go to. And that is, there was this old wise farmer who, he had a small family and a small farm. He had one horse. His one horse to do all the hard work on the farm, the pull and the horsepower and the this and the that and the zinging and zanging. Well, then his goddamn horse ran away, and the townspeople came up to him and they said, "Oh my God, your horse ran away. Isn't this bad?" And he said, "Bad? Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't." Well, then the next day, the horse returned with 20 wild horses, and he had essentially multiplied his capacity for hard work with the horses by 20. And the townspeople came over and go, "Oh my God, 21 horses? That is so good." And he said, "Good? Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't." So the next day comes, and his son hops up on one of them wild horses, and he's riding and having a good old time, a gay old time on that horse, and that horse popped him off, lands on the ground, snaps his leg. And the townspeople come over and they go, "Oh my God, your son broke his leg. That is bad." And he goes, "Bad? Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't." Well, then the next week, the son's all laid up in a cast, and he can't really get around, and they're having a mandatory draft because they're going to war, and the people who are taking people against their will to join their army and fight in this battle, they come up and they go, "Hey, you got any young, able-bodied fellas that we can have in our war team?" And he goes, well, I have a son. And they go, oh, let's go see him. So they go up and see his broken leg. They go, oh, broken leg? You can't fight for us. We don't want you on our war team. So they leave, and the townspeople come by and they go, oh my God, they didn't draft your son. That is so good. And you know what he said? Good. Maybe it is, and maybe it isn't. So who am I to say what's good? So yeah, there's my point. I have a gripe. Switching gears. Stud finders. How do they work? You know? You mean to tell me this little $20 piece of shit can see through my walls? How? And I messaged this to my buddies, Will and Brian, who you know, they've been here. And they said, ha ha ha, sonar. And I go, oh, okay. So this little $20 piece of shit can hear the boards in the wall? And they go, you wouldn't understand. I go, you wouldn't understand. You think you know? You don't know. They go, it's the same with a depth finder in a boat. You know how that works? I go, yeah, well, you can see through water right to the bottom. And he goes, well, it works in the dark too. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's not a wall. I don't think stud finders are scrutinized enough. I'll keep going the old-fashioned way, thank you. I'll knock on the wall and find that stud myself. And while we're at it, stud finders, another thing that I think should be banned from existence, even though I'm as pro things happening as the next schmuck. Hypnotists. Are you fucking kidding me? That there are people that we just let roam around, do their voodoo magic, and people just act like chickens? And we're allowing that? We're allowing this? You don't think there's a creepy hypnotist in the mist who's doing their, in 5 seconds, you're going to blow me. Boom. Rape, BJ, hypnotists should all be banned. Why? How do you do that? And I know the pushback on that's going to be like, I don't believe in them. Anyone who's ever been hypnotized has been in on it. My high school graduation party, not the one at home, like at school, they did like a thing for the seniors. They brought in a hypnotist, and several of my friends, they do a test, right? So they play music or they speak their hypnotist voodoo bullshit. And they have you do this. They have you stand up, interlock your fingers, hold them over your head so your arms are kind of like in this circle, like over your head. And if you can pull them apart, then you can't be hypnotized. If you hold them and while they're doing their "you're under my spells," and you can't pull your fingers apart, you get this like glazed over thing in your eyes. And they go, and he went and he inspected people he could or couldn't hypnotize, brought them on stage, and made them all quack like ducks and walk around T-Rex. And when we're allowing this, you think if he can make you quack like a duck against your will, he can't make you like fondle his balls against your will? My God. 2-3 of my friends were up there and we're like, that was pretty funny. You're barking like a duck. And he's like, wait, what? I'm like, you don't remember? He's like, no, I remember nothing. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, that guy could have fucked you. He could have fucked you in front of everybody. And we're just like, oh, give it up for the hypnotist who's making people do things against their will. That's okay. Mark my words. There are things we look back on from our past that are like, that's unacceptable. How could we allow that? Hypnotists are going to be one of them. Wait, Dad, you had like, they just let that fly? And I'm going to be like, right? Nobody agreed with me. Nobody said, let's put an end to these hypnotists who are running rampant out there. Dude, you could hypnotize. You could get out of every bill you've ever received at a restaurant, hypnotize your server, and be like, what do you do? You said this was on the house. You said you were going to pay for this. They'd be like, oh, yeah. Now go run the card. Give yourself 20% and get out of get out of here. Boom. Hypnotists. Or you could get any job you ever wanted. Sir, why do you want to be an engineer at this company? You don't have the qualifications. Sleep. Yes, I do have the qualifications. I understand that my resume may not line up with what you're looking for, but isn't it what you really want? A little go attitude? Awake. Oh, sir, you are hired. I love you. Let me blow you. Oh my God. We're just allowing this to happen? Oh my God. I'm sorry for raising my voice so emphatically. I guess I haven't really... I wrote down, like sometimes I'll jot down talking points, and I wrote down hypnotists. I've never said any of these words out loud. I didn't realize how much of a problem I had with hypnotists. I did it as a gag with my friends, but what else could you do? I mean, depending on the percentage of individuals who are susceptible to hypnotism, you could run for president. And honestly, at this point, I may take a hypnotist over. And I'm not going down that road. I've already pissed off both sides by my opening, calling you all basically fart faces and farters. The left's a fucking fart, and the right is a fart too. And you're all just farting at each other and blaming each other for farting. And then the one side will get mad for the other side getting mad at them for farting. So I hope that by listening to this podcast, you have obtained some value. At the very least, maybe you just laughed once or twice, and you otherwise would not have laughed once or twice. But if you watch this podcast or listen to this podcast and you laughed once or twice, but if you had chosen a different thing to do and you would have laughed 3 or 4 times, you wasted your time with me. But I did want to switch gears a little bit and talk about this thing I've noticed, which is pretty cool. And I think this can help. I'm going to say these words, and I think they're going to help make an impact, because there's a lot of, let me take a slug. Okay. The boomer generation and the millennial generation tend to butt heads a little bit, right? They butt heads a little bit. So I've come up with a tip for the millennials on how to get in good with the boomers. And I have a tip for the boomers on how to get in good with the millennials. So listen up. If you're a millennial, this is first for the millennials. If you are a millennial or close and you don't know how to penetrate this, you're like, these boomers, they're tough. And hats off to the boomers. Every one of the baby boomer generation that I know is tough as nails, dude. And if you can't at least give them that, then I don't know, maybe you're Brock Lesnar and you're like, they're not as tough. They're not as tough as, I can't do a Brock. So you want to get in good with the baby boomers. This is specifically for the male baby boomers. Here's what you do. You simply mention your mother-in-law and you let them do the rest. Boom. Baby boomers and mother-in-laws, there's something that I was at a work meeting and I work with pretty much all baby boomers, and I go, yeah, I'm going to be off Thursday. We're going to be up visiting my mother-in-law. And you should have seen the faces. They're like, oh, got yourself a mother-in-law, do ya? And they had so much fun, and they love it. They love the mother-in-law. They love the mother-in-law joke. They'd be like, oh boy, he's got himself a mother-in-law. That's trouble, right? And they just let him fucking go. You don't even say anything bad about your mother-in-law. Just say that you have one, and they will love it. They'll love you. And then just let him go. And then another thing, what I found, if mother-in-law, whatever, maybe you don't have one, but if you have a wife, I haven't done this one personally, but I've seen it work. You tell them how much your wife likes to talk. And then again, they'll be like, oh my God, you're telling me you can't get them to shut up or shut off or know what's right from wrong, and you just let them go. So that's all you got to do to capture the heart of every baby boomer on planet Earth. And baby boomers, if you want, I can tell you how to get all of the millennials in the same way. All you have to do to a millennial is tell them how long a hangover lasts, and you got us. I don't even drink. I haven't had a drink in 12 and a half years. And if a baby boomer is like, oh yeah, but you have some fun, but you got to deal with like a 3-day hangover, and I'll be like, and something will happen to me. Maybe that's what the hypnotists do. Maybe they just say something that they know is going to get you. And a hangover thing for me, I haven't had a hangover in 12 and a half years. And I'll be like, I'll relate. I'll be like, yeah, it's not like it was when I was in college. I'll tell you that. College, I could drink till 4 a.m., get up at 8 a.m., and zip through work, no problem. Now, my freaking back hurts for a week after I have one beer. Not true, but why? But for some reason, I love a good long hangover reference. And I think we all do. And I say that to where maybe the problems of this polarization, we just got to find each other's thing. Because 100% of male baby boomers, when you mention the mother-in-law, are going to just fucking embrace you, dude. And the same with the millennial. You say you long hangover, or another one, kind of just off the top of my head here, not just a long hanger. And this is probably kind of the disconnect of baby boomers and millennials. Burnout. I feel burned. I feel the burnout, man. I just I don't got it in me today. I feel the burnout. But the baby boomer is too just tough as nails to even like entertain the burnout. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. But I will end on a it's kind of a funny story. So, two-parter. It was two separate thoughts, but it's racial, but it's not racist. Okay? Big difference. It's racial, not racist. I think. I don't know. Call me who fucking cares? 12 people listen to this. I don't give a shit. what you think of me. I do. I really do. Oh man, that's baby boomers. Teach me how to not give a shit what people think. That I admire the shit out of that. I don't know where I got this whole like me. I'm getting better. Okay. So if you've never been invited to the cookout, or if you don't know if you've ever been invited to the cookout, then you haven't. And if you don't know what that is, you've definitely never been invited. And if you have, as a white guy, for me, that's like a super high honor to have been invited to the cookout one time. I did get invited to the cookout one time. And basically that is typically a metaphor. Usually it'll be a black person that invites you to the cookout. And that's kind of like a metaphor for like, I'd accept you, acceptance. It's super cool. So I got invited to the cookout one time and my invitation was immediately revoked. And here's what happened. So I was at work. This was the previous job, Rocket Mortgage. I was on a team with my buddy Lloyd, and he was a black guy, cool as shit. And he invited me to the cookout, metaphorically. I don't know if it was like an actual invitation, but later that day, I went on to make a claim that would cause him to retract his invitation. And I still stand by my claim. I said, I'm probably going to get some shit for this, but I think next Friday is funnier than the original Friday. And he said, invitation revoked. You are out of your mind. What the hell are you saying? You just lost so much respect for me. And I backed up my shit and I go, you know what? I'm not saying it's more classic. I'm not even saying it's a better movie. Friday, way bigger classic. But next Friday, I think was funnier because, just personal opinion, I think Day Day, played by Mike Epps, is funnier than Smokey, played by Chris Tucker. Just my opinion. I also think that the three Latino brothers from next Friday are funnier than like the supporting cast. You pick any three supporting casts from the original Friday. I think the three Latino brothers funnier. So that was my thing. He revoked it. We had a big laugh. It was cool. So there was one time when I was like using, it was like in my brief relapse period. I went and had some beers with some guys after work, and two of them lived in a rougher area, rougher than I'm used to, and I had quite a few in me, and we were wrapping up at the bar. It was just like in Northville, and I was like, "What are you guys up to?" And they kind of look at each other like, well, "We're about to go back to our crib and." They basically like keep the party going. They didn't say that they were going to go. And I'm just like, well, all right. And they invited me. So I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I'll go. I'm going. Let's go. So I went, and like I said, it was a rougher area that I'm used to. And it was Detroit. And I found myself in a situation that I don't normally find myself in. I was in one of their houses, and we were like drinking beers. I think I got a couple of 40s, whatever, and we were passing around. We're passing around a blunt. This was a long time ago. I no longer partake, but whatever. So I distinctly remember I took a hit off this thing, and I passed it to a guy who I didn't know. But he like in one arm he was like rocking a baby, and he grabbed the blunt with another hand, and I'm like, I've never seen that before. So it's kind of I'm out of my mind, and I'm like, I haven't really said anything in a while, and the movie Malcolm X was on the TV, and I'm like, I said, this is my chance, this is my moment to make conversation. And I go, it's quiet. Like nobody really wanted anybody to be talking. I go, you know what the main difference between Denzel Washington and Will Smith is? And I look around the room and these faces, they're like, I'm listening, but tread lightly. That's what their eyes, every single one of their eyes said. You have my attention, but careful. And I go, I got this. In my head, I said, I got this. I said, the difference between Denzel Washington and Will Smith is when Will Smith played Muhammad Ali, that was Will Smith playing Muhammad Ali. And I said, but when Denzel played Malcolm X, he became Malcolm X. And I swear to God, the silence that followed felt like it lasted 10 minutes. It's probably more like 7 seconds. And the guy's staring at me. He takes a huge hit off this blunt, and I have no idea how anyone's going to respond. And he like gestures the blunt towards me, and he goes, "You right." And I said, "Oh, thank God." And they all kind of nodded, like, "Yeah, good point." And if we all could just love each other, I think we're going to be all right.